Okay, today we're playing a game on Oasis. The average SR of this game was 2,455, and we will be playing Moira the entire way through. And our current team composition is D.Va, Winston, Soldier 76, Genji, Ana, and Moira. This would have been pre-Mercy nerf, so by those standards, this is a bad team comp because it doesn't have Mercy on it. Which is not so true anymore, but it does still have Ana on it. So even by today's standards, it would be a bad team comp because it has Ana on it. One day. So, we are also on the PS4 today, by the way, consider yourself forewarned. Now, in the email, there is no question or anything of the such, but as important as it is to acknowledge failure, it's also important to recognize success. In the email, it says, I won a couple more games after the one attached and finally got pushed into Plat, but there's still a lot to work on if I'm going to reach Diamond. You could be in Diamond by now, for all I know. This email's quite old, we've got a pretty big backlog, but congratulations on reaching Platinum all the same. So, now, we are going to start the game. So we're on Garden first, which is, it's kind of an unfortunate, King of the Hill map for Moira, because Garden and, City Center have high ground to them, which is very unusual for a King of the Hill map, and Moira isn't very fond of high ground control maps, because she herself has very limited vertical mobility. And the only vertical mobility she does have is fade jumping, which is not the most consistent form. Anyway, so Winston has dived directly into them and been promptly murdered by the entire team that he jumped into. And then we got hooked by Roadhog and got killed. So we're standing real close to him right now. Right click is 20 meter range. You can be standing really far away from people and still be hitting them. But just also on a baseline thing, if you're playing a support, you want someone between you and the enemy team. The only person between us and the enemy team is Genji, and we're kind of actually just like right next to him. So we're getting real close to the front line. We're being the front line at that point. You don't want to be the front line as Moira. You want to be with the front line, but you don't want to be the front line. There is a distinction between the two. So anyway, the fight's been going well anyway, surprisingly enough, considering we died pretty close to the start of it. Genji's managed to build up Dragon Blade extremely fast. He's been farming that Roadhog something fierce. Oh, they have a D.Va as well. The two ult battery tanks on their team. He's been having a great time over here. So we've ended up winning the fight regardless. D.Va's done that, but it was a complete waste of time. We fade anyway. Was in the bubble, but like, don't trust Winston's bubble, okay? If you've got a D.Va ult inside of a Winston bubble around you, assume the Winston's bubble is gonna go away. Because just earlier today, I watched like a bunch of people standing around outside of the bubble like, oh, it's no big deal, D.Va's ult's contained, and then the bubble got broken, and 3 people suddenly died because they were just hanging around like nothing was gonna happen to them. Winston's bubble isn't super reliable, because it's really fragile. So, we've almost got Coalescence built up, which is cool. D.Va's throwing her route out there to promptly waste it. That's me showing, I suppose. It should have been wasted, because just chucking it out blind doesn't tend to do it very much, and there's a lot of corners on this map, so it's very surprising that it got anybody, and one of them was Moira, so she didn't even have her fade, apparently. They have a Symmetra on their team, which I'm sure they're super stoked about. This is actually, like, probably the best King of the Hill map if you're going to play Symmetra on it, because it's actually a pretty, like, contained map, with the exception of City Center, which is relatively open, but, like, Garden and University are both, like, not that bad map-wise for Symmetra, because they're pretty contained, and the enemy is, like, going to come at you from one direction, right? Like, there isn't a lot of options for, like, ways to get to the objective. At least not commonly taken options. So there's no reason to use our Healing Orb right now. The Healing Orb is as bad as ever, because it's just really hard to get the full efficiency out of a Healing Orb, because there's a bunch of math involved in it. Just like, look, just trust me, it's really hard to get the 300 healing out of the Healing Orb, right? Let's not go super into it. There's math involved. We all hate math. I know I do. But also, it's hard to get the full value out of the Healing Orb, which is why it's bad compared to the Damage Orb. It's very easy to get 200 damage out of the Damage Orb, and that's just 10% ult charge for Moira, because 200 damage is 10% ult charge. For her, anyway. Because different values, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it's very hard to get the full value out of the healing orb. These people are actually not that wounded, so there's also that is probably... It's just... Healing orb doesn't tend to do very much unless most of your team are wounded and very tight together, because then you'll actually, like, get all the healing out of it. Otherwise, you probably won't. And it's better to just use the damage orb, because you get more ult charge, it pressures the enemy team, makes it easier to pick people off, because they're taking this chip damage, blah, 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 blah. Don't use the healing orb, especially, like, in that kind of situation where they aren't even that hurt. You can just hold left-click. So, both Moiras currently using Coalescence. It's very upsetting to me that it doesn't go full Dragon Ball Z, and you can't have, like, a beam struggle with the other Moira, because that would be sick as hell. Probably a little bit more into it than they want to be, though, but it would be sick as hell. It's alright, because our Genji had Dragon Blade, so even though like, the Coalescences effectively cancel each other out, we had a better ultimate with us. Going back now just to see like what we were aiming at with the Coalescence, mostly D.Va. The goal is sort of to hit your own team and the enemy team with it, but like our team are kind of in there at the same time anyway, so that's going to happen sort of automatically. Because it is a support ultimate, and similarly to a support ultimate, you want to actually like support your team with it. It also does more healing than it does damage as well, so there's that. No need to use the healing orb right now, better to just use the damage orb to try and help kill the Mercy faster, because we don't want Mercy to survive, just generally. Especially not like this was pre-nerf, so like especially, but even generally, you don't want Mercy just like walking around, you know. Here, this is actually the time to use the healing orb, because the other good use of the healing orb is when you need healing and you're dueling somebody. If you chuck the healing orb right now, you can bounce it off this wall next to you and just, like, hang out next to it, and it'll be really hard for the Winston to kill you. Like, D.Va would have to help him, but even then, it's still hard for him to kill you, because it's 75 health per second, plus the drain from the right-click, you're healing 100 health per second. Slightly over. So, that's actually the time to use the healing orb, because you probably actually survive in this situation if you use the healing orb instead. That's, like, the only other, like, really valid use for it, is, like, your team... Okay, there's three. First off, your whole team are wounded and tight together, so you can actually, like, get a lot of healing out there quickly. Even then, not necessarily, because your left click is still AoE and a lot of healing, so even then you don't necessarily want to use it. But the other two reasons are, you need healing, or you're dueling somebody. Then it's just really hard for you to die. Important, though, don't, like, bounce it off the floor when you're doing that, because that's most people's knee-jerk reaction, is to, like, throw it at the ground, because it's, like, Ana muscle memory, I guess. You don't want to do that, because as soon as it bounces off the ground, it starts going up, and that's when the orb isn't going to do anything. So you want to bounce it off a wall and, like, hang out next to it. The other reason to use the healing orb would be that somebody far away from you is wounded, and the healing orb travels faster than you. So sometimes it'll save somebody if they're far away from you and need healing. But those are, like, the only real reasons to use the healing orb. Even here, we don't need to use the healing orb, because, like, we're here, we can just hold left-click over the Genji instead, right? Like, we don't need to also use the healing orb. At that point, it tends to just be overkill. Now, we need healing as well, so we want to use the healing orb, because we need healing. And there's other people around that will benefit from it as well, but, like, we want healing. Us. And, unfortunately, oh god, they're still all around us. This isn't a good way to fade, because this is fading back towards where the enemy team is going to be, at low health as well. We actually want to fade the other way, or, like, up the staircase behind us, if possible, because we want to get away from the enemy team. We're actually backing up into the enemy team right now, and, like, oh, there's Winston. You're really easy to kill when fade is on cooldown, so if you're in a bad spot and you're, if you're not even full health, you don't want to go towards them, you want to go away from them. It's very easy to kill you when fade is on cooldown. And if you're not full health as well, and you got fade on cooldown, you're definitely gonna die. So you want to go away from them. So we're just gonna use Coalescence basically to speed boost back here slightly faster, because, like, this is hopefully the last team fight, because we've been winning the fight even in our absence, so we'll just get back here faster. Again, no need to use the healing orb, better to use the damage orb in this situation, because we want to kill Tracer faster. We can hold left click over the Genji, and that's enough healing. Right, we don't also need to use the healing orb. Instead, we can bounce the damage orb off the walls and try to kill the Tracer, because, you know, she can't dodge our orb's damage unless she just, like, fucks off, basically. Genji, we just hold left-click over and it'll be good. Alright, so, first round, won. Easy money. Now we're in City Center. So this is the other unfortunate map for Moira, because it has high ground to control. It's also more open than the other maps are, so it's a little bit less ideal for her as well. I'm not gonna tell you this is a bad map for Moira necessarily, but, like, it's more unfortunate. Not terrible time to use the healing orb. These boys are not that hurt, and we can hold left click over them instead. Better to throw the damage orb in, because you just want more ult charge. We just want more ult charge. The healing orb is unnecessary right here. Just be getting that ult charge built up. So we're currently, like, slowly trending into the enemy team while we're doing this. I get that we've walked through Orissa's shield to try and kill her, but, like, we don't want to be going towards the enemy team, because that's scary, and Fade's on cooldown right now, so if we get caught by the enemy team, we're gonna die. What we want to do is trend more in this direction, because we're going away from the enemy team, but we'll still be able to hit Orisa. The shield's about to break anyway, like, look how fucked up that shield is. So, like, that's probably not gonna be an issue. Genji's also probably gonna kill her, but if we trend this way, we can still hit Orisa while falling away from the enemy team, rather than going into the enemy team. And we're going into the enemy team backwards as well, which is also not great, while Fade was on cooldown. It ended up not amounting to anything, but it definitely could have. So, really hard to kill Roadhog as Moira, because you only do 50 damage per second. It, like, never happens. If Roadhog's fighting somebody else around you, you're better off, like, making sure that person doesn't die. Like, these people next to you are getting hurt right now, but you're trying to, like, kill the Roadhog. Heal these people. Like, Ana gets hooked at half health, she's definitely dead. If we heal her up to full health, maybe she survives the hook, because, look, there's Roadhogs in gold. Roadhogs are bad at one-shotting people after they nerfed his damage. This guy's also in gold. Ana probably survives if she's half health, actually, if she's full health, rather. And just, like, it's hard to kill Roadhog as Moira. Usually, like, you're better off making sure the person that's with you fighting the Roadhog doesn't die instead, because they will, more often than not, kill the Roadhog faster than you will. And you just don't want them to die. Also, baseline, we're playing a healer, so healing is our #1 priority, always. Doing damage comes secondary to that. There are some exceptions to that, but, like, 99.9% of situations, like, healing is your #1 priority, because that's the role you picked. So we decided to use Coalescence right now, I think largely to save ourselves, but, like, also Winston was kinda low at the same time. We did Fade for, like, a bit of a panic reaction, it looked like, right there. We are, like, trending into the people that we're firing at again. Moira gets, like, nothing from being closer to people. Moira honestly hates people being right next to her, and your beam is real far away, so, like, we don't need to be getting this close to them. And we use... It looks like we basically use Coalescence as, like, a panic reaction. It's not very necessary. It ends up not really doing very much except healing you and Winston, but, like, we could have just been in a less aggressive position, not getting killed, right? Like, we could have just positioned more cautiously while we were low health and healed the Winston instead. Again, we didn't need to use the healing orb right there. We can just hold left click over that person, and we didn't need the healing, so... Orbs are very important for Moira. No need to use the healing orb right now. That's like the same thing as when Ana uses her grenade between fights to try and heal somebody faster. Like, there's no need to use the healing orb there. It does nothing but heal D.Va slightly faster. That's a terrible waste of company resources. You can just heal the D.Va quickly enough with your left click. You don't need to also use the healing orb. It's like when Ana used, like, you're healing somebody between fights and she just throws the grenade on the person right there. It's a terrible waste of, like, the best part of Ana, right? Like, there's no point. Just heal them up. So again, we're going, like, real aggressive right now. Like, we faded forward very aggressively, and, like, they're kinda coming in on us while Fade is on cooldown. We're easy to kill right now. We are trending back into their line of sight while we're currently at 44 health, which is also a good way to die. Sombra did that, but it wasn't very well coordinated with her team, so it ended up not doing anything. Again, no need to use the healing orb right here, because it just doesn't really end up... Like, it ends up going through the full value of it, I guess, but, like, you can just hold left-click over these people, throw your damage orb at the enemy team while you left-click it, while you're healing these people with your beam, and then, like, you'll build your ultimate faster, and these people will still be alive, like, the healing beam is more than enough, and then the damage orb can be getting you ult charge at the same time. We're a little scared, probably, to go out and touch the Ana right there, because, like, a scuffle was kind of happening around us. But, like, if we look up in the kill feed, we actually see that these two people have died. And they were, like, the scary ones. So, They were the ones that were, like, coming in aggressively to us, and they're dead now. So we end up using Coalescence, but, like, we've largely won this fight already, so we end up, like, not really doing much with it. We end up just kinda trying to bully the Mercy with it. Again, we're way closer than we need to be. We're moving into the person we're shooting at. Fucking Coalescence is a fucking 30-meter beam, and it's fat as hell, right? Like, it's fucking roadhog thick, right? Like, you don't need to go this close to somebody, and that ends up putting us right next to Reaper, which ends up getting us killed. Probably don't need to use the Coalescence anyway, because two important people for them had already died. Sombra didn't have her ultimate, like, probably didn't need to use Coalescence in that situation. We could have just gone up and healed the Ana probably as well, but we did, like, throw the healing orb out at kind of the same time they died, and it was a little scary to go up to Ana and try and heal Ana from, like, go up and heal Ana with our beam from that position, because, as far as we knew, two people were still around the corner, but then they died, so we're getting back now. Fight's not looking very good. It's looking quite terrible, actually, right now. Roadhog's using his, Junkrat's using his ultimate right now. Now he's fucking dead. It starts going a little bit better, but then we end up getting killed by Reaper. Our Fade was currently, Fade was on cooldown the entire time. Feels bad, man. Maybe use the healing orb right there, thinking like, oh, these boys are coming in on me, they're definitely gonna keep coming after me, and I'll probably need the healing, but you die in that situation regardless. Honestly, like, the fight by that point was going so badly, you probably just bail out sooner, because it wasn't looking good as we were getting back, and it didn't start looking any more promising once we got back, either. Fade also is one of those abilities where it's like, well, you know, I kind of don't like this fight right now. I think I'm just going to leave, actually. I think I'll just leave this fight. So Genji has, of course, died at the exact worst possible time, because everybody's getting back, and then he dies. So we have to wait, like, the maximum length of time possible for him to get back, which is, of course, very efficient. We're all very happy about that. We did use the healing orb here to heal ourselves, but there's a health kit just over in that yonder direction to the left, so also not much is really happening. You know, we can just, like, push I need healing and try and let the other support heal us, because, like, we don't want to use the healing orb unless we, like, have to, really, because the damage orb is just so good. So we're completely out of resource right now. And we've been holding left click down, we've been holding the healing beam down this entire time, and it's not really been doing very much of anything. Because this diva, we're holding the beam over her the entire time, she's full health, she's not really taking any damage, we're spending our entire resource on nothing right now. Like, you can hold this button down for 9 seconds before you run out, we just held it down for, like, almost 9 straight seconds doing nothing. Even, like, the efficiency with the beam with your resource is important, because you actually need it to do, you actually need it, otherwise you can't fulfill your role. And you want, like, if no fighting is actively happening right now, you usually want to just let the regen over time from, like, just sprinkling them with it to do as much work as possible, because that's 50 health, and that's usually enough to heal up chip damage that people are taking. If you're fighting, you hold it over the person because you don't want the person to die. But if a fight isn't actively happening at the time, you want the regen to take care as much of it as possible. Also, if you heal somebody for, like, a few seconds time, like, I honestly never look at the beam, because it's not usually that much of an issue. Like, just, if you spend, like, a couple of seconds healing somebody, try to do a couple of seconds damage afterwards to try and even it out. Try to avoid just, like, holding the button down for extended periods of time and not doing any damage. It's, like, usually not that much of an issue, as long as you think to yourself, alright, I've held it down for, like, 2-3 seconds, I'm gonna try and do, like, 2-3 seconds of damage now to even up that discrepancy. Because we ended up being super inefficient right there, and it ended up kind of fucking us over. So didn't need to use the healing orb right there. Yeah, these people are far away, and the healing orb will get there faster, but they're not in trouble, so we didn't really need to use the healing orb right there either. Could have just thrown the damage orb in. Oh no, he's fucking dead. Just, like, fade away from the boy, just in case, because you never fucking know what people are gonna do when they've got a pulse bomb stuck to them, right? Ends up getting us away from the Mercy and the Tracer instead. This is the situation where you use the healing orb on yourself, because, like, Tracer knows she almost killed you. Like, she just fucking bored into the back of your skull and almost killed you. If she turns around and, like, hits you at all, you're gonna die. This is where you throw the healing orb in case, because you don't want Tracer to, like, actually kill you. Because she knows you're low health, right? So if she just, like, if she's better, basically, she kills you in that situation. So, we're going to use Coalescence right now, so we end up throwing the damage orb in ahead of time. Seeing we know we're going to use Coalescence, so that's definitely, like, the better idea. We end up getting caught by Reinhardt's charge. Again, we don't really need to move into the Reinhardt. The beam's going to go through his shield, and we can be, like, really fucking far away. Moira doesn't gain anything from moving closer to people. Usually, the only person that benefits from you moving closer to them is the other person. Moira hates being close to people. 30-meter beam. You can be standing really fucking far away and not get touched while you're using Coalescence. You are also more fragile than it seems like you are when you're using Coalescence. It is one of those ultimates where you kind of feel like it shouldn't be possible for you to die. You're actually your most vulnerable when you're using Coalescence, because you can't do anything particularly fancy to survive, right? So if they, like, come at you and they're actually competent, you're actually quite vulnerable while you're using Coalescence. You usually want to be, like, far away, not getting closer to people. If you're coming back to a fight as well, and you see, like, people in this kind of situation, throwing the healing orb is alright usually as well, because, like, if you're coming back to the fight, it's gonna take you a while, and you can see people are walking around wounded, throwing in the healing orb can be helpful. If it doesn't look like they're gonna die, though, throwing the damage orb is still usually better, but, like, when you're coming back to the fight, throwing the orb ahead of you usually ends up being, efficient. So, oh god, Reinhardt's coming right at us. We had Fade, but it's alright. Junkrat, like, launched us to the moon instead, so we avoided it. So, fight wasn't going very well as we were getting back, and it didn't start getting any better once we were getting back. So, again, another situation where we could have just, like, bailed out sooner than that, basically. When Junkrat bumped us up as well, we could have actually faded backwards over the wall and been, like, super out. Sort of reasonable enough to be like, that guy is low health, so I'm gonna throw the healing orb after him. But, if we go back, like, that's Ana, right? Like, Ana should be able to heal the Genji. We should still be able to get away with throwing the damage orb rather than the healing orb, because we can see Ana is, like, basically touching Genji. No need to use the healing orb here, because D.Va is not actually in any threat of dying right now. You and Ana are here, so she isn't going to need the extra healing from the healing orb. It ends up doing mostly nothing. I know it's hard, but, like, when you know there's a Reinhardt on the enemy team, it's the kind of thing you've got to be paying, that's the kind of thing you got to be paying attention to, because Fade is fantastic at dodging Reinhardt's ultimate, because you're invulnerable while you're in Fade, so even if it hits you, it doesn't matter. And I know it's hard to react to Hammer Down, but as long as, like, you know Reinhardt's there, and you're paying attention to him, it's not as hard to react to as it seems, as long as you're expecting it, and you're just ready. You're watching the Reinhardt, like, as soon as I see him start using his ultimate, I'm gonna use Fade. Dodging, ultimates with Fade is kind of a big thing. And, you know, I know it's hard. You gotta be, like, paying attention to the Reinhardt while you're still doing other stuff, but you don't want to get hit by Earth Shatter. Shocking revelation, stop the fucking presses. You don't want to get hit by Earth Shatter if you can possibly avoid it. And, Fade is good for that. And we've won the game. Fantastic. The play of the game is not in this replay. It doesn't go nearly long enough. So, thing that stands out the most in this game is, like, orbs. Like, orbs. Use the damage orb. Healing orb is really bad. It's like, I play a fucking lot of Moira, probably like 5% of the time I use the healing orb. The damage orb is just so good. It gives you so much ult charge. That's like one of the main reasons that Moira gets to build her ult so quickly, is just every 10 seconds you throw the damage orb into the enemy team, that's 10% ult charge. Like, that's just that's like very strong. Plus you're doing damage in between those periods and healing people as well. The damage orb, just, it pressures the enemy team. You know, if you see Symmetra balls coming towards you, you're like, oh fuck, no, I don't want to have to dodge this shit. Moira's orb's has got fucking grabby grabbers coming off of it to harass you as well. Pressures them, makes it easier to pick people off, gives you ult charge. Damage orb is way better than the healing orb. Hard to get the full value out of the healing orb, you know. Most of the time we throw it in this game, it doesn't get the full value out of it. It does come surprisingly close in a few situations, but, like, even in those situations, like, you can just hold left click over the people, throw the damage orb in, and then you're healing people and doing damage at the same time, so you're getting double ult charge. Ho 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 ho. That's where the big money is. So, alt char, orb efficiency, very important. And we are posturing like way too aggressively in a lot of situations. And sometimes we get punished for it, sometimes we don't get punished for it. Like, we are standing way too close to people, and we go, like, move into people a lot. Gotta avoid doing that as well. We want to be with the front line. We don't want to be the front line. There is a distinction. So those are the things that stood out the most in this game. So thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. Congratulations again on reaching Platinum. Hopefully you're closer to Diamond by this point, because that email was really fucking old. So you could be Diamond by now, for all I know. Congratulations on reaching Platinum, and I hope you found the video helpful.